In the wake of my video where I amassed 1 million gold without ever leaving the farm, I've been brainstorming another challenge for Stardew Valley. And, well, what I eventually settled on was the idea of playing the game without the starter tools. That said, I approached this as more of a theory crafting challenge rather than an actual playthrough because I thought that would let me get the video out quicker, but that didn't really pan out. Also, I only found out while editing this video that this topic has been partially covered before by Wand of Sparking. It's a great video by a great channel, so check it out after this one. Onwards, let's break down the various aspects of Stardew Valley in order to answer the question, can you complete Stardew Valley without the starter tools? That said, you can't really delete the starter tools or destroy them permanently, but you can put them in a chest and never think of them again. We use the honor system while inflicting challenge-based pain here on this channel. On the topic of pain, let's start with the mines. Navigating through the mines is important because it allows us to get stone and minerals and combat experience, among other stuff. Without the pickaxe, how are we going to break any rocks and get down to level 2 or beyond? The only way that's possible without the pickaxe is by using bombs. But how will we get bombs? Well, we can't craft cherry bombs until mining level 1. We can't purchase bombs until we blow open the corridor to the dwarf, who only talks to us after we obtain the dwarven scrolls. We can't farm bombs from rock crabs and duggies until we get deep enough to even encounter them. Thankfully, we can still get bombs outside of the mines. One way would be to gather 42,000 gold via fishing and foraging to unlock the bus via the community center, or just by paying 40,000 gold to your corporate overlords. Then we take a bus to the Calico Desert and trade 5 quartz obtainable by sifting through trash cans to the desert trader for a single bomb. Alternatively, we can wait until year 2 for Ken to move back to town, build a little friendship with him, and wait until he mails us a gift, which can be a battery pack, a cherry bomb, a bomb, or a mega bomb? Let's not dwell on that. The most reasonable method, sort of, would be the traveling merchants that appears every Friday and Sunday south of the farm. Their stock changes each time and varies across playthroughs. Either way, it is possible for them to sell all 3 types of bombs. You just gotta check every Friday and Sunday, but that would be really rough, so it is kind of cheating, but you can use the Stardew predictor that, quote, simulates the random number generator used in Stardew Valley and makes predictions about the game after reading the save file, which just means that we can look ahead and figure out when the trader will have the bombs in stock and for how much. I entered a spring coma, bought some bombs from the traveling trader, I saved the game, and entered the mines. You need to use the bombs quite sparingly, and it's possible that you get unlucky, but I was able to get down to floor 5 without too much trouble. This unlocks the elevator, allowing for reliable enemy farming by traveling down to floor 5 rather than hoping to find enemies on floor 1. Like I mentioned before, the rock crabs and duggies can drop bombs, which means no more traveling trader tracking. Once you have some bombs, you can destroy rocks and minerals until you get to mining level 1, unlocking the crafting of cherry bombs. Onwards, the next big milestone for the mines would be to unlock the Dwarven Merchant. A cherry bomb can be used to break open the rock that blocks him, but the difficulty is in getting the scrolls. There are 4 scrolls, each dropping from various monsters, or by tilling dirt on certain floors. It's very tedious, but if someone were to repeatedly visit the mines and grind their way down the levels, you can eventually get all 4 scrolls without needing the pickaxe. And I am the someone that did it. I did it. It didn't even take that long. Just like 5.5 hours into my playthrough, it was no big deal. So that's the mines covered. The next big obstacle is farming. For this, there are 2 routes. The first is pretty simple, just grind gold, stone, and get some wood, and have Robin build a coop. Then steal some chickens from Marnie and tend to them until you achieve farming level 2 for sprinklers. This works because petting a farm animal, milking a cow or goat, sharing a sheep, collecting an animal product in the coop, all give 5 XP points each. Just don't go for pigs because collecting truffles gives foraging experience, not farming. The more traditional, plant-based route of farming is a little more complicated. Without a watering can, what are we to do? One idea I had was to obtain rice shoots from the general store, plant them next to a water source, like a pond or lake or river. This makes them irrigated, which means that they grow faster and don't need to be watered manually, but harvesting rice shoots requires a scythe. That's a problem now, but we'll get to that later. Turns out watering crops isn't as much of a problem as I first thought. Crops will only ever dry up and die when the seasons change. Otherwise, they can go days or weeks without being watered just fine. So if you plant some quick growing crops like garlic, parsnips, or bok choy at the start of the appropriate season, they'll most likely grow before the end of the month because getting 4 rainy days in a single month isn't very rare. A better method would be to use basic, quality, or deluxe retaining soil. If you don't know, those items have a 33%, 66%, and 100% chance respectively of retaining a tile's watered status each night. And I found that even with basic retaining soil's 33% chance, purchasable from Pierre's shop for not that much, you can get more than a few crops to grow when starting with a single day's rain without too much effort. Again, reaching farming level 2 is the goal, as sprinklers make the watering can basically irrelevant. Now that we've covered the mines and farming, let's look at the community center, the gold standard of progress for most players. The crafts room is mostly forging bundles, which are no problem, no tools needed. The construction bundle is a little trickier. We cannot use the axe to destroy tree stumps, but you can still obtain hardwood by smashing crates in the mines or by going the forester profession so that you have a chance to get hardwood from trees. The pantry is full of bundles requiring crops. Under our restrictions, likely after getting some sprinklers, all of them are growable and harvestable. The fish tank requires fish, go figure. The only bundle that requires a hard to reach fish would be the specialty fish bundle. We can get to the ocean, mines, desert just fine, but no amount of bombs will allow us into the secret woods for the wood skip. It's blocked by a special log that requires an upgraded axe to destroy. The only other hope of obtaining it within this challenge would be on the forest farm, which is great. The boiler room requires metal bars, minerals, and monster drops, all of which are obtainable with bombs and weapons. The vault is of course doable, it just requires battling the game's fiercest foe, capitalism. The bulletin board requires the most diverse items, so let's go through them bit by bit. For the chef bundle, maple syrup, truffles, poppy, fried eggs, they're all no problem. The fiddlehead fern is normally a summer forage in the secret woods, but it can also be found on the prehistoric floors of the Skull Caverns. For the dye bundle, everything is obtainable without any special requirements. Same with the field research bundle. As for the fodder bundle, we find ourselves in a sticky situation. The apple and hay is no problem, but the wheat. Oh man, the wheat. As you may know, wheat is grown from wheat seeds and requires a scythe or golden scythe to harvest. Big emphasis on require. You cannot use your hands, and yes, I checked, you cannot bomb the wheat into yielding itself. It just gets destroyed. But wait, think back to our source of bombs, the traveling merchants. They can sell so much stuff, including wheat. You'll need to buy 10 wheat, which could take weeks, months, even years, but it is possible, which means you can complete the bulletin board, which means you can complete the community center, which means you can fix Willie's boat, which means we can get to Ginger Island, putting us within reach of completing the game. Bonus, the missing bundle that appears in the abandoned Joja Mart is actually doable without any of the starter tools, so that's neat. Now, can we complete Ginger Island without the starter tools? Well, it has a few main components, most of which overlap. There's the volcano dungeon, the island field office and its donations, the various golden walnuts scattered throughout, and some other bits and bobs. The volcano dungeon is trivial without the pickaxe, but what about the watering can? You see, the dungeon is unique in that it has numerous chunks of lava, which is expected to water using the can to form cooled rocky platforms to cross. Most of this should be optional, but not the very first stretch of lava just inside the entrance. There is a parrot that offers to build a permanent bridge at the entrance, but he only spawns after you've completed the dungeon at least once. So that blocks off the entire dungeon.
I hate you!
The field office requires donating a bunch of Ginger Island specific fossils. Some require fishing, one must be panned up, but most come from either breaking bone nodes with bombs or digging artifact spots, which artifact spots are destroyed, not unearthed, when you use an explosive. Trust me, I checked.
Stanley failed to gather all of the animal bones. He'll never get those 3 golden walnuts. Even worse, I won't get to see him raise any ostriches. What a disappointment.
On that topic, there are a total of 130 golden walnuts scattered across Ginger Island. There are 19 locked inside the volcano dungeon, 1 in Leo's hut that requires an axe, and those 3 from the field office that are all unavailable. The rest should be fine without the starter tools. The walnuts hidden underground can be unearthed using bombs, and there are a lot of that are just picked up or dropped while farming stuff. As such, we should still be able to get into Mr. Q's secret walnut room, which requires 100 walnuts. Within, we'll find the perfection tracker, which will plainly tell us that we're not going to be getting 100% perfection without all the walnuts. Still, I can suffer a little bit longer to calculate how close we can get regardless. Let's run the numbers. For shipping stuff, we cannot harvest amaranth, kale, unmilled rice, and wheat, because they all require this scythe. But wait, we can look to the traveling merchant for salvation, and shipping these items does count towards perfection, but it could take quite a while to get all the items. Still, that means we can ship 100% of the items, which gives us 15% towards perfection. All of the obelisks are buildable. The only tricky ingredient is dragon tooth for the island obelisk, but all you gotta do is kidnap some stingrays and let them produce the dragon teeth in a fish pond. That adds another 4% to the tracker. The golden clock requires 10 million gold. You could do that without tools. That's 10 more percent. The Monster Slayer hero requires game ending all of the monsters. The only ones that we cannot reach are within the volcano dungeon. So the magma sprite and Dougie goals are impossible. That means that we can add another 8.3% to our tracker. The Great Friend goal should be totally doable. I mean, there's plenty of universal likes, so this is another 11% we can add. We've already seen how to utilize and level every skill without the starter tools, so that's another 5% that we can check off. As for reeling in every fish, the wood skip is one of the few tricky ones, again accessible with the forest farm. I've yet to find any objective that, at least for this challenge, would require a different farm type, so there's no conflicts as of yet. That means we can add another 10% to our list. It also gets us Master Angler, for which we are rewarded with a star drop from Willy. On that topic, there are 7 star drops in the game. 1 is a reward from Old Master Cannoli in the Secret Woods, which is unreachable. The only other difficult one is the reward for donating every artifact and mineral to the museum. We can get all of the minerals using bombs, getting them from inside of geodes, as monster loot, or even in the trash can. For the actual artifacts, 24 of them are available via artifact troves, which can be farmed in the Skull Caverns. Another 11 different artifacts are obtainable from bone nodes, which can be blown open, though some have alternate non-digging options as well. 3 more different artifacts can be obtained via fishing chests, and lastly are the 4 dwarven scrolls that we've already covered, which covers them all. So it is possible, which means we can add another 8.5% to our total. Since we've already covered the walnuts, we know that there are 107 that are obtainable, which is about 4.1% of perfection. Cooking is, man, there are just so many lists. The only tricky recipes are stir fry and salmon dinner, as those require amaranth and kale. Thanks again to the traveling merchant, these are doable. Unfortunately, we cannot learn the recipe for ginger ale as it is locked in the volcano dungeon. The other 79 recipe should be fine, which adds another 9.8% to our total. Last, crafting. There are 129 items to be crafted in single player and 130 in multiplayer because it adds the wedding ring, but we all know that I'm alone. I mean, I'm playing alone. I was very careful. I scanned the list looking at first ingredients and then looking at the recipe sources. All of the ingredients, or I guess materials, should be fine, but there are some items that we cannot ever learn under current restrictions, namely the ostrich incubator from the field office. Also, the Warp Totem Island recipe is purchased from the Volcano Dungeon Dwarf. I believe that means that we can craft 127 items, which means that I can finally answer the question put forth in the title. Can you complete Stardew Valley without the starter tools? No, you cannot. That said, you can complete roughly 95.5% of Stardew Valley without the starter tools. All you have to do is abandon traditional thinking, cultivate a love of video game explosions, and ignore the tools sitting in your broom closet for potentially hundreds upon hundreds of in-game years. It's just that easy. That said, thank you for watching. Big thanks to my channel members for their support, and a mega-sized thanks to Captain Crayfish for being a super fan. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like, and maybe even subscribe. Just note that this is not a Stardew Valley exclusive channel. That said, I do have 2 other recent videos that you might enjoy. That's it for this one. I'll see ya. Bye-bye.